Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt man! All right! Episode 178 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Stefan from Heads Up Screen Printing in Massachusetts. Let's go!
Fucking look at you.
Hey there, dude.
You look like an inmate. Yeah, no hat, basic white t-shirt.
So pretty much we got in trouble last, I guess, week or this week, I think it was. And Chad texted us and said, yeah, he's like, wait, did you record on the same day? Because you have the same clothes on. Both of you guys, not just one of you, but both of you have the same clothes on back-to-back episodes. So I don't know.
Because we're the same kind of people that wear the same fucking cartoon character clothing every week.
It was a comfortable sweatshirt and I wore it. Yeah. And I was sure not to wear it this time because I didn't want to get in, super trouble. Yeah. All right. So we're good. Right? You have different stuff on?
Yeah. I specifically wore different articles of clothing so that I didn't get in trouble.
Okay. So we're good. Smart. Yeah. So I think the news to catch up on is because, now I live vicariously through you. You went to Printing United, so tell us about it.
Oh yeah, I did do that. It was good. It was a good show. I think Printing United has come a long way, and I think it was good. I talked to a shitload of people. It's one of those things, like we go to the show, and then like you make it an aisle. You stand in that aisle for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you make it one more aisle, and you do another 2 hours. But that's the best part. That's why I go. Like, I want to just like talk to my friends and hang out and whatever. Yeah. But I had to make a point to like leave the group and like put my hood up and go look at equipment because I needed to just be by myself and look at shit.
Yeah. I know, because if you don't, then you're like, wait, what was at the show? Like what was new? What I saw from some of the chats was that there were like every other booth was DTF, like a machine.
It was mostly DTF show. It's not a screen printing convention. It's a DTF convention.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it was a lot of DTF stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of DTF, a lot of digital. M&R's booth was massive again, and just had like all the bells and whistles and all the toys that you want. I did hung out with Kevin at Chromaline, and they had the new laser, like the newer version was pretty cool. Like he said, we don't call it like V2 or anything, but like it's got like some new features and stuff that was pretty rad. I'm not like a Kornit guy. I don't know anything about those machines, but the stuff that they were cranking out from Kornit looked fucking ridiculously awesome. Like, I don't even know what it's called, but you know how like best way I can describe it is when we were kids, we would get like pictures in like these plastic pictures in like a cereal box or whatever, where like if you tilt it one way, it has one image, and then you tilt it the other way and it has another image. Yeah. Like the colors would change or something would move. Like they were doing that with like off of Kornit.
Wow.
And it was like fluorescent colors and stuff. So it would be like, I don't remember what the designs were, but say it was like a pirate or whatever, and it would be like purple and whatever. And then you looked at it from another direction and it was like lime green. And it was just really cool. Like, it's sweet to see like just different styles of printing that it's new and different. It's not just, you put ink through a screen and made this design. It's like had texture and vibrancy, and
right. So
it's just cool.
If you have like $1 billion, you just buy one of those machines.
Right. Like, you can only achieve that print if you have $1 billion, but I mean, it's still cool to see.
It'll be sick. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be sick. Other than that, I was really looking for folding bagging lines. So I saw some options, but I think I'm going to go back to what I was thinking before and just buying like an M&R, like a modular, just a chunk to do bagging, because I don't have the room for like the full line.
Well, did you have a chance to see the Rock all-in-one?
I did.
bagger thingy. You know, I don't know what they call it, but it's takes up less space, right?
It does. It's still big. I mean, it's not like it's small, but it is smaller. It's not as lengthy. That's what she said. But it's. I just think for me, I want something, which is a kick in the dick for me too, because I had one, and then I like
really?
barely used it, and then I sold it. It was actually Tony's. Like Tony was like, "Oh, you know, do you want this?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." And he's like, "Oh, just pay me later, like whatever." And it just sat here because we like didn't have orders for like a year that really like needed a larger amount of bags. And then now I feel like every other order we get is like needs bags. So I'm shooting myself in the foot for getting rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that a few times too, where you're like, oh, we don't need this anymore and get it out of here, you know, because you only have so much space and you hate to store it. And plus it costs you money. And so you get rid of it. But then, now all of a sudden you need it. I did that with, like, I shouldn't have sold our, what are those called? Starlights. Because our Starlight, not Starlights, our Starlight. I should have just kept it as a backup exposure unit, you know? So like when I told you, it's like a few weeks ago, our 3140 went down because of the bulb and it cost us a day, but wouldn't it have been cool just to, and it's small enough, like the Starlight doesn't take up a lot of space. You can just pull it out and turn it on and you're good to go, you know, stuff like that. Trying to build redundancy everywhere, but it's nearly impossible because, like, for example, how do you have redundancy for the laser? Like we don't have one for the wax. Like if the wax isn't working, then
we have the film printer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about the film printer is that you're going to pull that out and the heads have to work. You know, they can't be like dried up. And
that was the thing is we had to do that when the iMage was not working. We basically turned the film printer on and did a couple head cleanings and it worked totally fine. Well, and it was crazy because like we hadn't turned it on in like 6 years or something.
You lucked out, you know, and that thing could have just been done.
Yeah, well, that made me think too of like when we got the laser and I sold my Starlight. I sold it to Sammy at Braided Threads, and he was like, "Oh, I have this small, like old workhorse exposure unit that I'm replacing with." I was like, "Well, what are you doing with that one?" He's like, "Oh, I'd give it to you if you want it." I was like, "Hell yeah, I want it." So like, that's my backup. Now? Like it's just like a small, fits like 123-31.
Yeah. But
so yeah, I just have it here as backup. It has glass in it. In a jam, it'll help me. But what I want to do is I want to put it on its side and put it next to the laser. So like if we want to post expose for water base, I can just drop it in that exposure and turn it on and post expose. But it will be there in a jam if we have to use film, and I can burn some screens.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like it was a great show. Yeah, it was really good. It was nice to be back in Atlanta. Got to hang out with a bunch of people. Got to walk around town with Marcotte and Christina and a bunch of other people. And it was fun.
That was good. That sounds great.
You're sorry about Marcotte. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Everyone has to apologize for him. It was just funny. Like I love hanging out with Matt, but like sometimes we go. Me and him together is just like, I feel like we're going to get canceled at any moment. So people were like telling me Matt's secrets and we're like, that's the worst possible thing you could do. Like we're telling everybody now at this point. I
haven't seen anyone for quite a while. So
I know.
I mean, I'm going to have to live through you vicariously also at Print Hustlers. It sounds like.
I know. Yeah, I heard that news yesterday. It broke my heart.
Yeah. Well,
Steven texted me. He's like, "Oh, what time are you getting in for Print Hustlers or whatever?" And I was like, "Oh," he's like, "Oh, it's really sad that Andy can't make it." And I was just like, "Yeah, whoa, what? He's not making it?" And I was like, "Oh, this makes sense." But like,
I was probably I may have been the first person to buy a ticket. Like when I saw they went on sale, I hit the buy button.
Well, the best part about that is you fucking talked me into buying a ticket. I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna go and whatever." And you're like, "Oh, like, you know, it's this place in California. Me and Joe really like, and you should go. You have to go. You have to go." And then I was like, "You know what? I'll buy a ticket. I'll go." And then you fucking back out, and now I'm going. I mean, I'll have fun. It'll be good. I'm just saying it's.
Well,
won't be the same without you. Is what I'm saying. And I had to call you from or not press from Print United and tell you that basically every human I walk into is like, where's Andy? And I have to be like,
I thought you put it like, who's like, where's that?
Where's that guy that Joanne's with?
Yeah, exactly. That's the way you put it.
They're like, where's that, sexy goddess of a woman? And who's that guy who creepily follows her around all
the time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's that dude at? Thank God he's not here.
Thank God he's not here. I can actually like breathe and not look over my shoulder every couple of seconds.
Yeah. It's going to be, weird, but I gotta take care of some things, and then Long Beach.
It'll be for the better.
Yeah, Long Beach it is.
Speaking of Long Beach, I was thinking of this the other day that like registration for Long Beach has been open for a while, and we probably should tell people that if they're signing up for seminars,
take ours.
Take ours.
Yeah, we got
have
one.
a seminar. Yeah,
this is going to be crazy.
Saturday, right? Well, I don't remember what time it was, like noon or 1 o'clock or something.
Yeah, maybe 10:30.
Somewhere on Saturday.
It was on Saturday. I think if you're registering for all the seminars, then you can just go to it. But if you just want to pick ours, I think it's something like $60. And we're going to talk the entire time about hot dogs, right? Or something, maybe a little
I misunderstood you. I thought you said hot dongs.
Well, well, maybe we could change it. I'll email Melissa and
change the description to Andy and Dylan sit in a room and talk about hot dongs for 45 minutes.
And tell her we're going to probably need a bigger room because everybody's going to
Right. Lots of visuals.
Yeah.
It's a hands-on experience.
That's right. And also probably 18 and up or whatever it has to be, no kids.
I don't want to go to jail. Yeah. It's aggressive.
It all starts with the screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF.
Rank.com.
Or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
Hell.
The world's best screens, hands down.
Hands down. And the world's best dude.
Oh, yeah, hands down. Hands up.
That's right. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way. Got to hang out with Alex a little bit too. Saw him at the show. Full beard.
Ooh. Huh.
Really weird.
Did you run your fingers through it at all?
I've tried. We rubbed them together. Like I wanted to like fully entangle.
Entangle.
But it was weird. Like no, like I wanted the hairs of our beards to just like tie little knots so that we couldn't escape each other.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So hey, Dylan, if you or your art department could use some love, then you need to go to 1-900-HOTStuff.com and get in touch with Nick or Lucas at Graphics Source and let them run your art department so you can focus on running your
go-kart
or mech suit.
Did you ever have a go-kart as a kid?
I did, actually. Yeah, I almost died 100 times.
They fucking rolled. You know what's always super sketchy about go-karts is the way the steering system is, where like you could barely touch the steering wheel and it fucking rips around. Like it's so instant.
It's really reactive. Yeah.
It's super reactive.
And also you're so low to the ground, and we just whipped around the neighborhood, and cars can't see you or anything.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. The murder
some
machine.
Some have a flag or whatever. Mine didn't have that at all. And so, yeah, I'm lucky to be alive.
I remember I got a little older and I started to see kids with go-karts that had roll cages. I was like, what is this fucking amateur hour bullshit?
I had no helmet.
Roll it, you need to you just need to eat it. Like you need to prepare for death, basically.
Yeah, like after school, friends would come over, and we'd all
zero suspension. It's just basically a piece of sheet metal with 4 wheels on it and a fucking lawnmower engine.
Yep. It was awesome. I'd like to relive those days. I don't even know if it had brakes. Maybe.
Barely. You just let off the gas.
Right.
And if you do, I can't say those words. I'll be in trouble.
Well, look, choosing the right emulsion for your shop is complicated, and that's why we love Chromaline. Go to chromaline.com to watch Kev's vids or contact him on Instagram at The Emulsion Guru and get the answers you need. Ooh, that was in sync right there.
Mm-hmm.
was
Speaking
beautiful.
of NSYNC is back. Are we going to go see NSYNC in St. Louis?
Are they really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, we are.
Yeah, hell yeah. We'll make some t-shirts and fanboy in the first row.
You know who's going to be here for 2 shows, different set list each night is Metallica. Like in
Really?
a couple days or something like that. I can't go because of my situation, and I wasn't like always like this crazy Metallica fan, but that would be dope to see.
I've said this before, but like if I had a genie with 3 wishes, I can't remember what it is now. I think it was Seattle. Like one of the all-time favorite like live performances that I've watched videos on has been Metallica, and like I think it's like 19. I don't remember the year, but it was like they were young Metallica, and like it was just this crazy awesome Metallica show. I was like, I would use a genie wish to like go to that show.
I think these shows are pretty cool. I've seen a few on YouTube because of their stage. It's 360. You know what I mean? Like with those stages where they're different now.
It's just not the same. Like it's not like Metallica, Heyday Metallica. It's like old dudes playing Metallica.
Not that old, but yeah. I mean, it's not like the Stones or something.
Yeah, they're also fossils on stage.
Also, I saw. Do you remember when we were in Printing United Las Vegas last year?
The When We Were Young festival?
Yeah. And that happened just like last weekend. I guess it's the same time every year.
Yeah.
And have you seen some of the
videos from it? Yeah.
Videos? Yeah. I think Ryan Moore was there.
He was. We talked about it before he went. Yeah. I don't know if I would necessarily want to go to a show like that, but Bill's actually trying to get me to go. They're having one like that, but it's like metal bands. It's like Slayer and like a million other bands like that.
Like from the 90s or something, or
yeah, just like
80s, 90s.
Yeah, probably like Limp Bizkit and shit.
I saw Limp Bizkit, a video of Limp Bizkit's set like at Lollapalooza
where he's dressed as a cowboy.
I saw that too. Yeah. And he has like a belt buckle and everything.
Yeah, just full on comes out. Yeah.
Yeah. They sound pretty good. Talk about old guys, coming back.
I love Limp Bizkit. It's white trash for 100%, but it reminds me of high school and my brother.
Same. Except I was maybe college, a little older.
Yeah, you were already like in your 30s.
It reminds me of my 50s.
Right.
What do we got next? We have Howard Custom Transfers. Yeah, look, if you are not using DTF or screen print transfers in your shop, you're doing it totally wrong. We have partnered with Howard Custom Transfers to get you the transfers you need fast. So check them out at howardct.com.
Definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
For the best.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what are you fucking slow or fucking busy or fucking medium?
Busy.
What are you?
Medium to busy.
Okay.
I'm a medium rare right now.
We're a medium.
Yeah, I feel like if it wasn't for a couple big customers, we would be pretty medium.
Mm-hmm.
But the big customers are like demanding right now and sending us a lot of stuff. So cool.
Last summer, is it still summer? I don't fucking know. Is it fall?
No, straight fall, almost winter.
Well, so then do you say this summer? Is it still, does that, I'm trying to describe a few months ago. How do I say it? So this summer, back in July, I met with a local, a company that's actually international. I know this is like really impressing people, but we met with him. I gave him a shop tour, and he said, "Okay, well, we're
what is this garbage heap, and why are we here?"
I was trying to give you some space to say that, and you weren't going there because I know I'm a little emo. You're right. Like, hey, I'm not going to say anything mean to Andy right now because he's,
But it's me, and I'm sorry.
He's vulnerable. But you went ahead and said it, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, he was like impressed. He was like, okay, cool. And then I thought that because so much time had passed, what it is, it's October, whatever. Like, oh, we didn't get it. We went somewhere else. Got an email yesterday that says, okay, we're ready. And sending us shirts, sending us designs and we're retagging and all that stuff. So I was like,
that's
yes.
awesome. I have a couple large customers that are like that, where they're like, it's weird to think how efficient and like forward thinking some of these companies are.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, when you're quoting, you're thinking they're going to pull the trigger, but really they're quoting jobs that are like, oh, this is for Q3 of next year or something.
Right.
And it's like, damn, like you're on the ball. Like this rare.
Is for Q1 2035. And you're like,
right. Just getting ready.
Oh, you guys.
Can you slate us on the schedule? How early before what's the turnaround before I have to have these so I can get these in?
Get your shit together. We need to get on our balls. We need to get on the ball.
We need to get on our balls for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Who do we got today, bud?
Dylan, today we're going to be talking with Stefan from Heads Up Screen Printing, located in Charleston or Charlestown, Massachusetts. Another one of those.
Boston.
Yeah.
What's up?
And there he is.
What's up, dude?
Hey,
How are
what's
you?
up?
Good. You guys hear me all right?
Yeah. I mean, you're okay.
No, I'm okay.
We're just going to take it easy today, okay? We're just going to fucking wing it. Is that cool?
Just middle of a Wednesday, no worries.
I'm putting my leg up right now. I've never done that before. I'm going to get comfy.
Okay. Whatever you got to do, man. There's a couch behind me.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Did you hear that? You know how we talked heating pads last time and you have a full body heating pad?
Yeah.
And I have whatever, just.
And Nate told us that it was the complete opposite.
Yeah, you saw that?
Yeah.
He's like, his wife yells at him all the time. He's like, no heat. You need to go with ice.
Yeah, and then I told him that it hurts so good and I'm doing whatever I want because I'm a grown-ass man.
Well, do they have icing pads? You can plug it in or something like that?
You just stand in ice cold water.
We should.
They got they have ice packs. I don't know if they have like actual electric icing pads.
Yeah, I have. So Joanne, we have these ice packs I've been using ever since. And the problem with ice packs is they melt. And then you got to get another one. So we need something an ice pad. Yeah.
Like
they make
whatever they use underneath ice skating rinks that they just continuously keep the ice cold.
What were those? Have you ever ordered like food on the internet and it shows up and it's in that like completely like sealed box and it's got like all the freezer packs in it? They make some that are like gel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it doesn't like fully freeze, but it's like gel feeling. You should just steal one of those.
Don't they cool off?
So if anything, you'll get a meal and a gel pack for your bag.
I like that. Only thing is, I think not cool off, but they probably melt just the same, or they get room temperature or whatever. You know what I mean?
I just like to think of you all like frosty and melty on the couch.
You can also use dry ice in a lot of those food shipping things.
Just pour dry ice all over your bag.
just put that in in a bag with water. It's not dangerous at all. It won't explode.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be totally good.
Mm.
So anyway, what's up, dude? How are you?
Just chilling. Finished a partial job before I could hop on and clean up and talk with you gentlemen. What I missed in the preamble? Anything good?
What did we talk about? I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, Printing United mostly, and
yeah, we talked about Printing United, and we talked about new technologies and loving.
Oh, yeah, we talked about the seminar we're doing on hot dongs. I think
hot dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We said it was a hands-on experience. So.
When does registration open? I'm down to sign up for that one.
Pretty sure it's open. Yeah.
Oh, it's just open year round. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's open.
$60 gets you there. We're cheap.
A hell of a deal.
Cash. It's cash in a back alley. But
cash only.
Or Bitcoin.
Oof. Can I pay with NFTs? Those are still worth it.
What was that one that Elon came up with? Was it Dogecoin or whatever? It was basically just that stupid dog meme or something.
Yeah, pretty much anything he does now is some stupid meme. That dude's it just has too much money, and I think he's just bored. So he's just fucking with everybody at this point.
I kind of like it though, honestly. I'm actually debating right now getting a new car because my lease is up, and I'm between a Grand Highlander or a Tesla. So
which Tesla? Because you would have to get an SUV one, right?
I want the SUV, yeah.
Okay. Which
I
there's
want the
a couple
blacked out SUV.
Yeah, they're like $1 billion, I think. But
Well, I didn't. I thought you knew I was a billionaire.
You don't want to wait for that. What's it? The Tesla truck? That
No,
awful looking box
No.
on wheels.
I'll probably end up with the Grand Highlander. I think it's pretty sweet too. So
Nice.
So I was looking over your stuff. I mean, I already kind of knew your stuff, but I was looking over, and after Christina talked to you, I didn't quite realize that it was like you're a fucking solo operation. You're a fucking Renaissance man.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Renaissance. I'm sure somebody's done it before, but certainly still doing it for almost coming up on 5 years now. I don't know why I'm still doing it alone.
5 years solo.
Yeah. So I guess I'll give you guys the cliff notes on me.
I don't want cliff notes. I want the long story.
All right. Okay. I guess
not too long, but
not too long. Well, I mean, I guess I'll start the beginning of it all. So I started actually down in Florida I worked for AKT. Everybody knows them at this point.
Jared's,
I was actually
Jared's my favorite human.
Yeah. I'm glad to see that he took the reins over there as far as most of formerly Merch Spin, as it used to be called.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, there's Alex is also the other one of the main guys. That's actually what AKT is.
When were you there?
Oh shit. 2005 till 2014, something like that.
Okay.
So I was there for a while. I was me and this one other dude were the original printers down there. Back when they were still running what was that orange brand of manual presses?
Was it Caps?
It might have been Caps. It was just like a 4-color, 4-station, like some orange piece of shit. Again, it was like 2005, so it was like some old thing. But my buddy Chris Martin, who actually still works in and around one of the 27,000 AKT companies that they got down there. He just I've known him for years, and I moved up to Orlando, and he was like, "Hey, my buddy opened a print shop. Do you want to print some shirts?" And I was like, "I've never printed shirts before, so how are we supposed to do that?" And he goes, "Me neither. We're going to learn." And I'm like,
"Right.
I guess that's one way to just hop into it." I feel like that's what most people do with
for sure,
printing and shit like that. They're just like, I don't know, let me just do it. And if I fuck it up enough, I'll figure it out. I started working there and was there for a significant amount of time for a while. I was there when they transitioned to auto. That was probably like 08 or 09. Jared could fact check me on that one, I would imagine.
I'm sure he's going to text me about this episode now and be like, it was this time, and this was the time frame, and this was the press, and this was the info.
Yeah, I was thinking about texting him before and being like, going on the show, and I just imagine he would either send me a meme back or just be like, "Oh shit, what's this guy going to say?" So, but yeah, I was there for a bazillion years. When they switched over to auto, was there doing that, production managing, and then they had a couple of
you did manage production then. You weren't just a press operator the whole time.
Yeah, no. So I started as just screen printing and stuff like that. And then eventually, as they got bigger and bigger, I was there, one of the longer tenured people there. So it just kind of fell onto me as being the production manager. And then at one point in time, they were opening up these retail location things that was only direct to garments so they could print on site. Yep. It was called Big Top, which was kind of cool. And it was super fun overseeing those. I think they ended up doing 3 of them, but they found that their big niche was super close to campuses because they were able to work with, the Greek life until I don't know what happened with all of it, but they all eventually shut down. But essentially worked with them, kind of getting those started. Did 2 in Orlando and then 1 over in Tampa. I actually moved out to Tampa for a while. And Tampa fucking sucks. Sorry to anybody that lives in Tampa, but I'm not that sorry. It's not that good of a city. But yeah, and then went back to Orlando, printed for a little bit because once I went over to do the Big Top stuff, obviously somebody had to take over managing the major warehouse there. Then I went back and then just printed for, another year or 2, just kind of doing all that stuff. And then my fiance was graduating from University of Florida. And she was like, well, she's originally from Boston. She's like, well, I'm either going to move back to Boston or I'm going to go to New York. And I was just like, I'll go to Boston if you want to go to Boston. So moved up here in 2014 And like that was actually, so the first year that we moved up here was the year that we got that ridiculous snowstorm where it was like 10 or 11 feet of snow. So got a nice little welcoming party there, but I like the cold weather.
Welcome to Boston.
Yeah, it was basically like, welcome to Boston. Fuck you. Here's some snow for the next 7 months. That snow mountain didn't melt till July.
Were you near the water anywhere?
Yeah, so I lived in Somerville. I still live pretty close to Somerville. I'm in Medford, which is the next street over, basically, because all the towns in Massachusetts here are just next to each other. Nobody's actually from Boston. They just mention a town that they're nearby. But yeah, so like we're all like pretty much right off the water here. So this,
I was going to say the best part about winter and like all that snow and stuff is that it's the wind off the water, and then everything just gets covered in ice.
Yeah,
like just sheets of ice over everything.
Yeah, so we don't get the like, not like the Michigan Lake effect where like I've seen like pictures and videos of like shit coming off Lake Michigan there where they're just like the cars are just buried and they're like, well, my car's there for the next 4 months, so I guess I'll deal with that. But yeah, no, it was still brutal because like they would, you know, for I think it was like 3 storms back to back, there was like 3 or 4 feet of snow and everybody was just like, just don't go to work anymore. Just
we just live inside.
And you like coming from Florida and dealing with this shit. So it was like complete opposite.
Oh yeah, I went from sweating to, you know, wearing 27 layers of coats and stuff. But
that's the best.
I know, exactly. But you know, if you dress appropriately, it's not that bad. Everybody's like, it's so cold, and I'm like, well, not if you have good jackets and boots, man. Get over it. No, like it's the same thing going out in Florida. It's like it's so hot. It's like, well, stay inside.
I would much rather be cold than hot.
Oh, 100%, because you can only take off so many clothes before you're just standing naked in public and getting yelled at, like, whereas you can just keep layering up.
How comfy is it to wear like a t-shirt and a hoodie and like jeans, and then you're like, oh, I gotta go outside, and like you put a coat on and you're snugly warm, and then you go inside and sit by the fire or whatever. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think right now is actually the best weather because you can get away with wearing a hoodie and shorts, and that's the ultimate combo before you really have to start.
You get that breeze up the shorts.
Oh yeah, just blowing right up on there.
Exactly where it's at.
So you're printing in Florida.
Andy's like enough weather talk. Get to.
He just doesn't want to hear about the airing on our balls.
I'm curious. You go to, you know, Boston area. And in your head, are you thinking like, oh, I'm going to start a screen printing shop, or you're just going to move up there and figure something out?
So before I moved, I reached out to a couple of shops. And actually, there's this one shop that I worked at when I first moved up here down in Dorchester, which is just south of the city. And like I actually reached out to them and like set up a whole interview and everything like that. And actually flew up like a month before to kind of like, 1, so we could look around for apartments, and 2, so I could, you know, see if I could get a few interviews just so I'm not going up there with no job, because, you know, the pay rates down in Florida aren't exactly the same up here, and living expenses are significantly different. So I had to make sure I actually had some money to live up here. But so I ended up interviewing and got the job at this shop down in Dorchester. And it was more of like I'm not going to say their name because just of the way the story's going to go. They, you know, they're a little bit more on like the corporate style, like as far as doing stuff like that. And, you know, just the owners and some of the people that work there, they're, you know, I come from a, you know, print shop where kids are, you know, wearing jorts and Vans and listening to metal and, you know, smoking butts every 15 minutes. And this,
so upstate.
You know, yeah. Like the way print shops are supposed to be. And then transition over to this shop, and, you know, they're just a little bit more, you know, stick up their ass type of people, like, and, you know, their clientele and like just the way that their whole offices are based, like the salespeople are wearing like ties and button downs. And I'm just like, where the hell am I? And but they hired me on as production manager for that shop. And then, but they also had somebody who was above me, who was like the overarching manager for everything. So like pretty much anytime I would be like, here's my knowledge and what we should do print wise and shop wise, she was just like, no, I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to do it this way. And I'm like, well, then literally what is my point here? I was just like a glorified printer. So that lasted about a year and change before I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I told her, I forgot what the final discussion was, but said something. I was like, well, then I think I'm done here. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, exactly what it sounded like. I'm not coming back after lunch. Actually, I'm gonna leave right now. It was like 10 in the morning. So, and yeah, just pretty much wrapped it up there just cause I think they were just milking every hour out of me. Cause when I first got in there, I was salaried, and they were, so I move up there, new city, new shop. And I was like, cool, I got a salary job. I'm a big boy now. And I was working, 13, 14 hours a day from like 6:30 in the morning. And they were like,
right, they took advantage of that salary for sure.
Oh, huge. And then like, I finally said something, and I was just like, hey, this is not really fair. And I was like, can we work something out? And they were like, well, that's what you signed on for. You'd rather be hourly? And I go, yeah, if it's going to get me more money.
13 hours.
Yeah. And I was just like, so let's do that. And my hours got stopped at a certain day of, hour of the day real quick, because they realized, they're not going to pay me that overtime. So I was just like, fuck it, got exactly what I wanted. And then they were just real pricks about everything. And the shop was a mess. And I was kind of coming in there to fix, a bunch of stuff that the previous managers, who I found out also left on pretty sour terms. And I just go, oh, I get it now. Nobody likes these people. So departed from there pretty quickly. Found another shop a little bit closer to where I lived, over in Everett, which is like a town over here. And it was the most bizarre shop I've ever worked at, because it was like, I swear to God, they only had one client, which was Planet Fitness, because I worked there for 3 months, and that's all they printed endlessly was Planet Fitness t-shirts. And I was like, how is this still going on?
Wouldn't that be the best if all you had like is a press that's set up with the screen, whatever, and it's the same fucking screen, and you just print that all day? I know that would be monotonous or whatever, but I don't know. Like,
I've thought about that. Yeah. Like looking back on it, I was like, that's actually pretty fucking sweet to like, I feel like right now it would be the most ideal situation to have like 3 to 5 major clients, and that's it. Like,
well, that's kind of your situation, or was kind of your situation, is Andy, right? Is you could dial things up or down with that one contract customer that you have, right? The one that has to do with motorcycles.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
the one
sure.
that has to do with motorcycles.
Yeah, they basically have an endless, print demand. And you can, like, sort of like you said, you can say, oh, what do you want this week or next week based on
that's like a unicorn in this industry, though. Like, you got it made with that.
I guess, but not really, because they also are impacted by the economy, and so generally they're not. But how we were talking about going out quarters before with that new customer that came in, and we're jokingly, some people they're coming out and getting quotes for next quarter, or even maybe, a year from now, who knows? And so they're sort of like that. And so let's say if the economy is slowing, they'll feel it, and kind of sooner
they'll
than
dial back quarter one of next year. Whatever.
Yeah. So it's weird. Generally, though, it used to be that it was just an endless supply of shirts. If you wanted to print them, yeah, you could.
But I'm just saying, I say that's a unicorn because we were talking about the Planet Fitness or whatever. Is that like, I would love a customer like that, where basically, like, I'm like, hey, I don't really want to print your stuff right now because I'm busy with like, my direct customers and whatever. Oh, it's starting to slow down. Yeah, I'll take, X amount of 1,000 shirts this week. And next week we're really slow. Yeah, I'll just print you all next week. And
Every time I'm in an Apple store, I think to myself, who is the lucky motherfucker? Because it's like Apple this. Logo. Yeah. It's the smallest. You could probably buy a gallon of white ink for, I don't know, 20,000 shirts or something. And then just print that. That's what you do.
That would be it. So you were able to just dictate like week to week of like whether you felt like printing their stuff or not? You were like, hey,
we've been doing.
You want this?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes though they did press.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's fucking awesome.
Sometimes they needed stuff for a reason. You know what I mean? And so we did. It wasn't always like, oh, here's exactly what we want, and this is what we're going to do. Sometimes they said, hey, we need a little more out of you, and we'd fit it. We'd fit it in somehow, just because it's it's a relationship, right? It's kind of give take. So, but yeah, that was really, and it was just luck because they happened to be 15 minutes from us. It's not.
Like you drop it off the box truck.
Yeah. And so it worked out like that, and it still does. So
now, is it the motorcycle company or is it like the other one? It's
it's the one. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Damn.
But I think, there's a couple of license holders for that. So, and we happen to be with one that they've actually had the license since I want to say late 70s or 80. You know how they got it is that they were at a rally.
knife fight.
I was going to say motorcycle rally.
No, they really were at a rally and printing bootleg shirts, just like, hey, we're going to print these shirts at this rally and sell them. And they were doing that and doing pretty well. And then the brand saw them there and said, hey, wait, you can't be doing this, but you're doing it better than we are. Can you do this for us? Like full time,
Wow.
like all the time. And so they said, well, fuck yeah. And so the place that is there that exists down the road from us was at one time, I don't know if it still is, but at one time was the largest concrete pour in the state of Missouri because they have just so many fucking shirts there and so many presses and so many everything. They do the backs and we do fronts.
Dang. Are you still working with them?
Mm-hmm, yep.
Hell yeah. That's tight.
That's what I'm saying. I just think it's cool to find a client like that. It's like just to even do work for that customer to me would be a dream client, but to have like consistent, like, oh yeah, I'd like more. Like, please, sir, can I have some more? Like,
remember though, it's
like, I'm bored today. Give me some shirts, bro.
Yeah.
Remember though, it's contract work, and so pricing.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter when it's fucking January and you need to just keep your staff alive.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'll print these for, less than what I'm normally doing, but it pays the bills and then pays your staff. And that's all I'm
now, is it like something that you keep around more? I guess obviously the money would be one thing, or is it like kind of like, because every now and then you get like that one client where you're like, dude, fuck yeah, I'm so stoked to print this. Like, is it also that kind of like allure to it where you're like, hey, I'm printing for X, Y, Z, and you're just kind of like, that's pretty fucking sweet. So I'm going to definitely hold on to this as tightly as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that most people are stoked, for most of the designs. There's some that come through and you're like, but most of the designs are pretty cool and it's fun to print. And like you said, it's sort of one of those, like if you had a dream customer to print for, it's one of those, but at the same time, you have to be careful because the volume is such that it takes a toll, and so, how we always talk, it's like, what would you rather do? Would you rather print 10 jobs of 200 shirts each or 2,000 shirts, one job of 2,000 shirts, and most people always say, if you're running a press, I'd pick I guess it depends on the day, but they usually pick the 10 jobs because you have that set up, tear down, break, you're not like a robot. So you have to be careful of that. Because it does.
Yeah, I'd almost lean towards the second one, to be honest, because I guess, maybe base it more off of like, how much you're getting from like the 10 individual jobs compared to the big one. But just as far as like being on both sides of like, now running the business and like seeing what's coming in compared to like being on press, like, sometimes you're like, hell yeah, I just want to sit here, throw on some music or podcast
it's
or whatever.
It's different when you're a fucking one-man band because you don't have to clean those screens. You don't have to burn those screens. You don't have to mix those inks. Yeah. You're like, dude, I have a day's worth of work and a headphones and I'll just sit here and like crank these shirts out all day long.
There's also...
Yeah, exactly. I'm also the setup and breakdown. I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ, nothing one.
And also you've got to deal with 10 customers versus one, and that can be an issue.
Yeah, that can certainly get tedious. That I was just thinking about it because like as leading up to this, I kept like thinking of ideas, jotting down a few things here and there so I didn't forget about them. But you always, that one meme that circulates every 3 months, it's like the $10,000 client versus the $1,000 client or the $100 client rather.
It's like one email, one sentence.
Yeah, it's going to be like, here's what I want. And you go, here's the price. And they go, here's the money. Here's your shirts, the end. And you're like, sick. And then they get this, absolute punisher of a human who wants 25 shirts and they're providing the shirts and they're back and forth and can you change this? And then at the end of the day, you make fucking, $75 total off the whole order. I'm just like, cool, man. Thanks for wasting my time.
I love the punisher part.
Yeah.
It's true. It's the only way to describe some of these people is just like, oh my God, you don't need to send so many emails to me. Just tell me what you want. You reached out to me. At least trust me to understand that I know what I'm doing.
I'm going to get that Ryan Gosling clip from The Notebook where he's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? And just send that to every customer.
Yeah,
so you were at a shop that just loved Planet Fitness.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I forgot where we were. So worked at this shop and they already had 2 set printers. Everybody that was already working there was probably like 5 or 6 people intermittently throughout the week, but there was 2 main guys that were always on press, and they hired me on as just a floater. And I was just like, I mean, cool, man. Like, I have a shitload of knowledge. I know, a lot of stuff. And he's like, yeah, we don't really need that, but we need somebody to do this. So I literally, while they were running their Planet Fitness job endlessly, I was just the guy that would mix inks and walk around each screen every now and then, scrape the sides, get this, that, move stacks of shirts around, which is fine. And also it was super strange because I'd never experienced it. Was this shop, I don't think it was union, but for some reason they were operating on like union hours. So it was, in at 7:30, hard stop for a break at 9:15, pick back up, hard stop at noon for lunch, pick back up, and then hard stop at 2:15. And then you're out by 3:30. And I was just like, I should fucking join the union. This is great hours, dude. I feel like I'm chilling more than half the time. So I was there for, I can't remember if it was a month or 3 months. Either way, like just kind of grayed out in my brain. But they were like, all right, so we're merging with a shop up in New Hampshire. Do you want to come check it out and see how the drive is? See, maybe you want to check out the shop, kind of see, if it's something you'd be willing to do. And I was like, sure. Go up there, meet this. And I wish I could remember the name, but it was the biggest shop I've ever seen in my life. They literally have their own washers and dryers for like, dyeing and stuff like that. And it was a compound. And I get there and I meet the bosses and all that stuff. And they're like, hey, so have you filed for unemployment yet? And I was just like, I didn't know I was supposed to. I'm
here for employment?
Yeah. Yeah. And they were like, oh yeah, well, so it turns out we actually don't really have any need for any printers and we're kind of full up on everything else. And I was just like, so why am I here again? And they're like, I just, check out the shop. And I was like, cool, man, I guess I'll go. And I was just like, so I'll see you later. And then after I left that place, then I did actually collect unemployment, which was nice. Doing that for a little bit. And then that was kind of when I was like, all right, maybe now I need to start. Cause I'd always had the idea of starting Heads Up or at least my own shop. And so I kind of started getting, all the stuff together as you do, trying to figure out what I need to do, how much money I need, all that other, fun bullshit. And then, realized I don't have enough of this money and it's going to take way longer to do than money I have to continue living here. And I actually went on Craigslist and found a listing for employment or for a job listing up in Lowell for Northeast Apparel. So I ended up
for Dave
going working with Dave for, I think it was about 3 years. What's up, Dave? I'm sure you'll hear
awesome.
this. And so when I actually went over there and started working with him, he was still running manuals there. But he would already purchased his autos and stuff like that. And he had saw my, resume and stuff. So that's why he called me in. He was like, so I know you can do this, but I also saw that you run autos and stuff. And also I know, I'm very familiar with AKT and I saw that you work down there too. So that was kind of cool. So I was like, yeah, I'm super awesome. And so then started working there. And then
and you got there and he's, oddly enough, he's printing Planet Fitness also.
I walk in and I was like, Planet Fitness again. No, he's a CrossFit guy. He wouldn't be caught dead at Planet Fitness. And then, so I was there, I worked with him I was there for about a month and then he got his autos and we moved everything into like his new current location. Was there for about 3 years. Everything was chill. And then like, I kind of started, leaning a little bit more into like, just like sales stuff, but I was kind of like, I worked it out with him at the time and was kind of bringing them in, but, set up a certain rate with him and was bringing stuff in, but under Heads Up, but still like bringing orders in through the shop, but just kind of like contracting it through myself sort of deal. Did that for a little bit. And then towards the end of the 3 years, like kind of started picking up a little bit more speed with Heads Up. And then 2018, I pretty much blacked that year out because my dad and dog died in the same year. And I was just like, oh, cool. Absolute mental breakdown. And then also still trying to like kind of keep the Heads Up stuff, a little bit of steam to it. But then at the end of, 2018, it was just everything kind of came to a head, personally, and then at the shop. And then, things just didn't work out. We'll leave that as a little gray area without, dragging anybody's laundry out there. But, end of 2018, I was just like, again, I guess I have a track for just being like, no, I'm just not going to come back anymore. So ended up leaving there and pretty much jumped right into Heads Up stuff right after that. Like as soon as I left there, it was like right before Christmas. So I took like about a month or so, and then really just kind of like dug in and started going into, getting, finding the machines that I wanted to get, trying to find a space and to find any sort of warehouse space. And the third most expensive city in the United States is just like fucking a nightmare. Just cause it's either, a tiny storage warehouse or they want you to lease out, 9,000 square feet. And I'm like, bro, I have a tiny press and a dryer. Like I don't need all that. So,
my question before you get into that is, I know a couple people that basically were in your shoes where they were really great printers at shops and they kind of ran things or whatever. And then they decided to go off on their own. The question is, do you have in mind how you want your shop to look? Like what equipment you want, like things that are specific where you're like, I really want this layout or fancy tool or whatever, like right off the bat. Like I don't want to go to like scrape, because a lot of printers start off like shitty presses and scraping by and this, where you're just like, nope, I have standards. Like I want this right off the bat.
Oh yeah. Cause I mean, having printed for so many years prior to that, and like, I have no qualms with any of the shops that I don't work for anymore. Like I took more information, which was great, you learn as you're going. So like, I know like, the stuff that I didn't want to do or the stuff that I definitely wanted to do. And then, some other good ideas that you stashed to the side. So like, that actually is one of my notes here was like, one of the biggest things that I was about was if I could, and it made sense and I had the money for it, always buy new. Like I wasn't on Craigslist looking for, a used screen printing press and all that stuff. Like, especially, I mean, more specifically the press. If you got a dryer and the dryer works and it's not, shutting down or burning shirts on you, buy that used. That's fine. That's all well and good. But I've worked on so many shitty manual presses where you're just like, I'm holding the screen, pulling it to the side while I'm trying to print with this hand just to keep things registered. And I'm just like, absolutely not. That is not what I have any desire to do. So
we had a manual in the beginning where basically you would pull the screen down, and it was back then it was like every shirt had to be an oversized print. Like every band wanted everything to be as big as possible. I remember we would bring the screen down like a 2536 or whatever, and we would literally, every time we printed, we would look through the mesh to see if it lined up. And if it didn't, we would smack the screen over one way or the other and then print. Yep. Like every time you pull the fucking screen down, not just like, oh, boom, boom, pull it down, print. It was like, nope, let's eyeball register this fucking screen every single time we pulled it down.
Oh, and I spent a good majority of my tenure here, not here, but printing, of just like eyeballing it. And then like same thing, like either nudging it. I worked at a shop, and it wasn't AKT or Northeast. It was one of the other ones where they literally had a hammer on the press. So like if you're sitting there and like you set it up and you're like, nope, clink, and you knock, and I'm just like, just fucking buy a new one. What are we doing here? Like you could get like 4 or 5 decent sized jobs and buy a new press. And you know what? It'll make everything work so much better. But half the time you're just like, you're jacking around trying to fucking line the screens up, or like, the off contact is different on every single head, or a pallet shifts, or like the arms don't stay steady because the, whatever the little ball joint bearing thing in the middle is just,
I'm a huge
not
fan
set.
of,
So
I like buying new also. I think everything, for us anyway, I know it's more expensive, but sort of like you said, you're not inheriting, problems. And so it's always nice just to have equipment. And even if it definitely costs more, or does it? Because now you're not fucking around with the hammer and all these other things. So we do know a lot of people who have gone from production manager to owner. So what was that transition like for you? Was the other part of the business what you expected, or was it easier or harder? I mean, I know you said that you kind of were phasing into it because, you were running jobs as a contractor, but when it's actually yours and like, that's your shop and you have to do the taxes and the credit cards and all fucking everything, right? Insurance.
Yeah.
Was that what you expected, or was it more?
It's like 50-50. Like I knew kind of going into it because, just having been, with a couple of shops from the very beginning, I was able to kind of like, learn and see them grow and kind of take some ideas from that. But like, yeah, like when you're saying like, I decided to hop into it myself, literally just, head first. I just, quit a job and go, all right, now I'm going to start this, just straight up cold turkey. There's like, I had a pretty decent grasp on most of the things. But you do certainly learn that there's so much like, just like red tape and bureaucratic shit, just as far as like the business standpoint, not necessarily screen printing, just opening a business and dealing with the city and, getting licensing and taxes. I'm still trying to figure out the taxes, to be honest, because there's so many goddamn taxes here. Every other. Yeah, that's what Christina was saying. She was, because we were on the call yesterday. She said something, and I mentioned taxes. She's like, "Oh yeah, Dylan just did that too." And I was like, "I'm still doing it. It's fucking." I'm in Massachusetts. They tax you on the air. It's like Spirit Airlines over here. But
well, I mean, like we were just stupid things like exit signs. We went for 4 months battling, which is good because you want, you want to be able to get out of a burning building. This is great. But
sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. But ours came down to our exit sign so if it was alarmed, it has to have a light, right? So it floodlights inside, but it also had to be hooked up to the outside with a light that floods the outside. And because we are, first we bought because the exit sign had broken, we bought the wrong one that only flooded the inside and didn't dually also do the outside. But then when we finally got the right one, the outside wasn't working, and the outside light isn't ours. We lease this building. And so I'm like, hey, landlord, pay for the new outside light. And they're like, fuck no. And so it was like all around like that with the fire inspector and like just little shit like that people don't know you go through as a business owner, like battling over an exit sign.
You guys have to have exit signs?
Well, luckily, I guess not luckily because I'm paying $1 zillion for it, but I'm in a building here with, a bunch of other tenants and stuff like that. So they have all that stuff. If I could turn my computer's stuck to the desk here, but there is an exit sign. So we're good on that. But yeah, I mean, just like the little things, there's one thing I did make sure I bought a fire extinguisher because I've been in shops where things have caught on fire and it's not funny, but kind of funny. But yeah, just, but back to it, just again, like just, you think you have an idea, like all these, you could Google business plan and then even get more niche of like screen printing business plan or whatever type of things. And like, you think you have a checklist and you get in and you do them all. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, it's like 1A through Z and then 2A. And then there's just a million tiny different things that you're always accounting for. But yeah, I would definitely say the biggest hurdle that I'm still hurdling that I should have done from the very beginning, get an accountant. Because trying to do it yourself and do it through Excel and or QuickBooks is just a nightmare. And you're either going to be paying too much or you're not getting back enough. Either way, you're going to, screw yourself. And my books are still 60, 75% organized because they just, constant things coming through.
I just had this discussion yesterday with somebody that was talking about like finances and like getting your shit in order. And I was honest, like they were kind of like, don't judge me on this, like this is how I do things and whatever. And I was like, dude, like no fucking judgment at all. Cause first 5 years in business for me, like I didn't know jack shit about finance or how to budget my money. I was like, I was robbing Peter to pay Paul constantly to like get jobs out the door. I'd be like, oh, cool. I just got this, $1,500 payment for this order, but also like I need a new computer and like I have to pay the water bill and I have to do this other thing. And then you realize that like you didn't even buy the blanks yet. And like you don't have enough money to buy the blanks. And then you're like, get another job in to, again, robbing Peter to pay Paul, like get another job in to take that money to buy the blanks for the job before. And then it's just like this whole nightmare situation. It's like, I did that for like 5 years of like stressful, oh my God, I'm trying to make this work. Not realizing like, oh, hey, I should like actually like look into how to manage my money and be like, this is how you actually run a business. Yeah. And then I was like, just like you were just saying, I think that like if anyone was to hear this that was starting out or whatever, it's like my opinion would be to like read some books, figure out how to like properly like have money coming in and money going out. And then if you can learn that and know your trade or whatever you're doing, like farm out, like get an accountant, have them handle all the shit that can ruin you.
Yeah,
like if you could figure out money, your own budgeting, and then just let somebody else run everything that's like taxes and forms and weird shit you don't want to know anything about, then you should be pretty good. Like you should be pretty solid.
Yeah. I mean, like and jumping into something like I did, doing it like everything by myself, still doing everything by myself. You also learn very quickly, like what you're fucking terrible at and how to like, and again, it's accounting, bookkeeping and stuff like that. I'm not a math guy by any means. That's like anybody who's, wanting to start their own business. Like I'll say it again, get somebody else to do the books, unless you're coming from an accounting background, make sure that's solid. And if there's anything that you can't do well, that's going to take more time and waste more money, sub it out to somebody else. It's like embroidery. Like I did a bunch of embroidery down in, when I was working in Florida at AKT. And when I was opening this shop, people were like, are you going to do embroidery in house? And I go, absolutely not, because I don't like doing it. And there's plenty of local shops around here that I contracted out to for a better price. And all I do is drop the garments off, pay them and pick it up, and it's all done. Right. And
they're responsible if it's not right and everything.
Yeah. And I don't have to listen to that goddamn embroidery machines over and over again, and still got PTSD because you hear it going and you're like, all right, cool, white noise. And then it stops, hard stop. And then it starts beeping because there was a thread break. And I'm like, never doing that myself ever again. But I also got my finger stabbed by the needle one time. So that's when I was kind of like, I'm good. I'm good on embroidery forever. But yeah, a lot of little things that you learn immediately when you're like by myself doing it. And
so what did you start off? What did you start off with then? What was your equipment like? I'm in building 2 right now. Building 1 is directly across the corridor here. I was over there, and it was like 600 square feet. So obviously I needed something small. So I got the Riley Hopkins 6.4, so just bought that. I actually bought that whole Ryonet. It was like the 2nd or 3rd tier. Was it joystick registration?
No, it was regular, had micro reggies and stuff like that. Okay. I'd never actually used the joystick registration. So I was like, I'm not trying to do anything new. Let me just jump into stuff that I know right now so I can kind of just get this rolling as fast as possible. But it actually ended up, it was like the whole package where it was like the press, the 36-inch belt dryer, washout booth, exposure unit, a few other, things here and there, just like the quick shop starter stuff. And it had pretty much everything I needed. And then I bought a couple other like auxiliary things that I've used before that I was like, all right, definitely want to have that, whether I'm using it all the time or not. It's, like I bought a heat press, to go with everything, just because, you never know when you're going to need it. And also wanted to make sure like the prints didn't have like shitty fibers and stuff sticking up. So I could, if it didn't come out good, I'll just press those down. But
do you do that now?
No, because I bought the roller. So I have the auto now, but when I switched over from manual to auto, I made sure that was another one of those things where I was like, all right, getting this, there's a few things that I definitely want to start with. And then later on down the line, I'll get some other things as I need them. One of the very first, accessories that I had was that roller, because I was
talking about the action, the squeegee roller.
Yeah. It's awesome. Cause I'm just like, super anal about, I see shirts. I'm sure you guys do the same thing too. You'll be like out at a show or something. You look at somebody's shirt and you go, let me touch your shirt. Ooh, gross, shitty print. So, constantly like, one of these days, just walk up, start doing the stretch test on somebody else's shirt. And you crack it and you're like, oops, sorry. But yeah, getting the roller was super cool.
How long did it take you to get? I mean, obviously it took you as long as it took you to get to where you are now, but how long did it take you starting out to where you were comfortable and you're like, I have a fully functional screen printing shop?
So I just literally just got a text as you were talking from Jared, just saying, don't fuck up. What was the question? God damn it, Jared.
How long did it take you once you got started to be like, okay, I'm comfortable. I have like a print shop now. Like I'm doing
I probably like once everything was like in and set, I'd say probably like 2 or 3 months. Cause when you first get in, like I remember like all the equipment was in, everything was set. And it was like that first Monday, like of the very first week that I considered myself open. And I sit down at my computer and I literally out loud go, now what the fuck am I supposed to do? And so just, you do the soul crushing emails and cold calls to everyone and anything that, has an email out there. And then got literally no responses from that, which is funny. But then like orders kind of started coming in from people that I knew. And then it kind of just started snowballing from there. Like I still majority, I'd say like a solid 80 to 90% of stuff is just incoming orders. I'm sure you guys are probably pretty similar as well, where you're not like fishing too hard for stuff to come in.
So do you like your size right now? Like you like the one man show, like you said in earlier when you chose your time, you booked your time. You were like, oh, I like, I drink too much coffee and have my dog. And this is kind of what you do. You're a one man show. And so you have this life that honestly, probably a lot of shops are envious of, because it's just it's a good spot to be in for a lot of reasons. But then also it's a good spot to have a little bit of help. And so, I mean, what's your plan going forward? I mean, there's pros and cons to doing both of those things. Do you have a plan, or are you just kind of just chilling and going with it?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely 50-50 with that. Like, most days it's like, oh, hell yeah, I can, I show up, and as long as I'm getting work done and money and coming in and going out, then it's pretty sweet, because the flexibility, like, I can up and go, travel if I need to, which is tight, as long as I'm not like, behind on jobs or anything like that. But there are definitely days like today and yesterday and the whole last month where I was like, holy shit, I would love to just have like one other person. And like, I've had people come in and like part-time stuff, or I just kind of pay them cash or whatever, on like bigger jobs. Where I was like, hey, I literally just need a body in here to catch shirts, stack them up, flip them if I need to.
I feel like the number one thing that would make me feel weird about running the shop by myself would be someone catching it at the end of the dryer. Because to me, I feel like that's the biggest time suck waste. Is like you print 100 shirts, and like every shirt just rolls off the dryer into a bin, and then you got to pick them up, set them on a table, and then I look at every single tag. I'm like, okay, small, put it in a small pile, medium, put it in a medium pile. I feel like it's like so much longer to do it that way than to just take him individually off the end of the dryer and like stack him in a pile.
Yeah,
like it's such a time suck.
It's definitely kind of like a double-edged sword, whereas like once I switched to auto, I could, run 200 shirts in an hour, if not faster. But if there's nobody there catching it, then it almost starts to even out. Whereas, I'm just fucking print a bunch of shirts and doodly doo back to the end of the belt, and then have to sit there and stack them. And, like if it's a front and back job, like sometimes I'll like stack the shirts and put like a card in between. So like as the size run goes, I know I can run back there, quickly stack it, or at least move it, so it doesn't all blend into one pile of just nothingness.
You know what the best is then where you have like you're spinning twice or something in revolver mode, and
you can run over and do it yourself.
Yeah, you load in, and then you know that by the time you put depending on how many how large your press is, but that your shirt, by the time you get to the end of the dryer, maybe one is dropped in or whatever, but then you just stack them all up and then run down over to starts loading. You can almost time it. You can almost time it. So that works out.
Yeah, I was actually doing that yesterday, because there was a job where, I try obviously to not have to spin it as much as possible, just because it's a giant time suck. But, some jobs need it. Like I was running 8 color hoodies, black. I have the 8 color press. So I had to move the flash onto one of the loading stations.
Yeah.
So, but like I was able to, set it up to where, print the underbase, spin all the way around, and then do the other colors. But like you were saying, I was able to like see that one shirt come around that like still needs the tops. And I'm like, quick, run to the end of the belt, try to stack them up as quickly as possible. So like by the time that this, job was done and I was switching to the fronts, I wasn't having to fucking stack, 250 hoodies, all in one sitting. So, but yeah, it definitely, there are days when, I certainly would like to have somebody here, but, one, just money, paying somebody full time to be here. And like, also like my, the print schedule is like always kind of in flux, especially just being by myself, where it's like, it would be tough. I would essentially have to amend my entire schedule if I had somebody here full time, because like, I don't want to have somebody come in and I'm not printing much anything at the time, because then I'm just paying them to stand around and fucking do nothing, or like, find menial tasks just to have them there for the time when I do decide to finally fire everything up, start printing. But, having somebody at the end of the belt, would be good. I've had, on bigger jobs, I had somebody at the end of the belt and somebody helping pull for me, just because, where there was like a rush and it was a big job that I was just like, I'm not trying to offload and load everything all here by myself, even though, do that anyways, but just to speed things up essentially. So, as far as like the growth goes in general, definitely do want to get to the point where I can hire somebody on, again, whether it's part-time, 20, 25 hours a week, if it's anything. But then that comes back to, I'd have to really make sure I have a schedule set for them to make it worth it for them. So everybody's like, well, why don't you see if there's like some, college kid or some high school kid that just wants some hours? And I'm like, again, the time it would take to find them, set up the hours and all that stuff. So, it's certainly on the projection.
I think the college kid thing is, I never liked temporary.
I hate that idea. I hate temporary.
Yeah, because by the time they're good, they're gone. And so you would like to do more of a full-time situation. And I think that perfect person is one that just is an assistant, so like they're pulling tape off screens or they're cleaning up the ink pit or whatever.
That they could quit tomorrow and you can be like, whatever.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and like, that would be the same thing. Like if I did hire somebody in, I would essentially be like, all right, well, now you're doing, this, but when we're printing, I'm going to have you doing this,
and
then that ties back into teaching somebody how to do stuff. And I'm in a terrible position of running a company and needing to hire somebody. And I absolutely hate teaching people how to do stuff. I like to go, all right, here's how it's done. Do you understand? And they're like, no. And I go, I hate you. So
can I ask you an honest question? And I really am actually interested in the pros and cons of, you worked for Jared, which had to have been amazing because he's such a dreamboat. And then you worked at all these other places and you got to kind of like clock in, clock out. I know you had the issues with the salary and all this other stuff, but you got to print shirts, which you like to do. You got to kind of do your thing, but you weren't the owner. You just kind of did your thing. Now you're the owner and you're responsible for everything. You're responsible for the quality. You're responsible for the customer service and all this other stuff. Do you feel like it's worth it? Do you feel like, I know you like your own shop and you're proud of your own spot, but if you just look at like the stress levels and responsibility aspect, do you miss working for somebody else? Or are you like happy to like just do this till the end of time?
Yeah. Like there's days when I'm like, God damn, clocking in and out would be sweet. Just having a job and a check, consistently, at the end of the week or month or whatever would be great. But I definitely do like I don't like the stress, but the stress that comes with it, it's definitely worth it, doing that. Cause again, it's, something I built. I've always
it's also like people like a challenge too. Like,
yeah. And like, there's been jobs that I've had where, again, it kind of ties back to, do you want the 10 jobs or do you want the one job that's, 5,000 pieces where you're sitting there? Yeah. It could become, robotic and, monotonous, where you're just like, holy shit, there's still 5,000 more shirts to go. But, again, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, just kind of,
I guess you're happy.
doing the
Yeah.
work. Yeah, definitely. I definitely prefer doing the work and the challenges and stuff like that come with it, because, as corny as it sounds, you wouldn't learn anything new if you weren't doing anything that much harder to try to figure it out. Like I always say, essentially, especially with screen printing, like most people hop into it not really knowing what they're doing. And it's like, you fuck enough things up to figure out how to not fuck them up anymore. And you kind of go from there and you just get better at not fucking things up. So I guess that's the other big thing, is like owning my own shop compared to printing at a shop. Whereas like, if you mess up, a run of shirts, you're like, shit, now I got to go reorder these. Whereas like at the other shop, you're like, ooh, got to go to the office and tell them that I fucked these shirts up, and then I'll be going home in 3 hours. So
we talked about this a long time ago, but I added cards like a year and a half ago to the shop that basically every mistake gets reported and the card gets dropped off on the desk of either the salesperson or the person who has to order. And it literally is called the "Oops, I fucked up" card. And like the blowback in the beginning was people were like, "Oh, you're kind of like shaming them." I'm like, I'm not shaming them. That's just how we talk here. It's like, yeah, I fucked up. Like, bring them in. But like, also, it says in bold on top, like, "Oops, I fucked up."
I mean, also, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of shame. Like, don't bully people, but you can be like, "Hey, man,
Like I
See
bring
how
him
you
into my
fucked it.
office and like
Yeah, like
bare
you
ass
fucked
spank
that up.
him, but I mean, it is
Yeah,
what it is.
well,
Like,
are you hiring?
yes.
I'm
Now I
good
know
at
why you
fucking up
travel
shirts.
around.
They wouldn't spank me at the other places. I did.
Dave,
Come on.
Jared, Dave,
Yeah.
Dave might have.
Jared
yeah, but
probably
it's
would.
like,
Yeah, Jared
yeah,
would.
yeah.
Shout
for
out
sure.
to Jared too. Yeah, you're right. He is a dreamboat, and also he sends, he spams. I think a lot of people with memes. So many,
yeah.
but sometimes he sends me the one where a meme that says, "Oh, when your friends don't like your memes or whatever, or respond to your memes." That's how often he spends them. But also, he helped me at the earlier this year with referring to a credit card to me, which I applied for and got, and I buy all my shirts on now and have like 1 zillion, like infinity zillion dollars in rewards that I can go spend and buy things, eventually. But before we get to underrated, or should I say overrated, underrated, do you have any questions for us?
Well, you had more stuff on your list. I wanted to make sure we touched on them before we got to.
Let's see. What has my list got here? Nothing too pertinent. I mean, skip the part where I went from manual to auto. That was, I can go over that one pretty quickly. So I moved over into this one. Now I'm only 1,500 square feet, but I got the auto, the Rock P10, because the shop over there was doing well enough and I was having enough jobs where I was like, fuck it, I'm tired of printing. I could justify getting this auto. And that might've been one of the best purchases I ever made. And just a quick funny story about that is, you know how you're supposed to measure twice and cut once type of a thing?
Mm-hmm.
So I measured and then just kind of winged it from there. When the press showed up on the crate and everything like that, got it upstairs, but the tower part with the little light on top
too tall.
was taller than the door. So this door here, if you're on watching the video, that door is only 6'8". The press was 7'3". And so it sat in the hallway for 3 days till I could figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. And finally caught one of the maintenance guys. And I was like, here's my predicament. And he was just like, I got an idea. Send my guy up there. They literally took the door off, took the door frame off and cut a hole above the door. And we just tiny, like 6 inches wide, wheeled it in and was able to get the press in. And then also the dryer that I bought was way too wide to get down the hallway. And so I had to hire a moving company to completely tilt it onto its side, onto the pallets so we can weasel it down. So I called College Hunks Hauling Junk and was able to get those those hunks to get my press into the unit. So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, not a whole lot of. Right, here's a good one. Actually, coming off the back end of working by yourself, how do you guys deal with burnout? Because I know you guys have also been in the industry for probably equally as long, if not longer than I have. And I've been burnt out in various stages, whether it's at other shops or at this one. So I'm just, curious what you guys do or what other shops do to like reinvigorate your desire to give a shit about doing any of this anymore.
You want me to take it? Because I just talked about this.
You can go first and I have a little something too to share.
I was talking, I won't name who I was talking to about, but we were talking about it with multiple people at the Print United show. And I basically said, like, for me specifically, and then they were like, oh, 100%. Like, I totally agree. Burnout for me is caused by other people. Like, it has nothing to do with printing shirts. It has nothing to do with the industry. It has like, it's just literally when I'm burnt out, it's because I'm over dealing with other people's bullshit. Like staff or customers or whatever. It has nothing to do with the actual act of like screen printing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
So I think the thing with burnout for me is I just need like a social break, not necessarily like a break from this business or whatever. I just need to either sit down with these people that are problematic, or I just need a vacation to like reevaluate things and be like, you know what, their opinions and their bullshit is just not my fucking problem.
Yeah.
And then I'm back to not being burnt out again. So
nice.
That's my take.
I like that. I think that's that probably accounts for a lot of my burnout in the past too, with other people, you know, I mean, it's if you could just do this every day without some sort of problems, people problems. I don't just mean like, you know, your team and customer, whatever, just all those sort of problems. Yeah. I mean, it would be less likely.
Stefan's got it right. Like he that's why he has no people. He's never going to be burnt out.
Time out though, because I think there's two parts to it. I
just burned myself out. I get tired of myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's two parts of it, and that is, like that's a big part of the pie, right? Is other people forcing that on you. But I think that also if you're running this business that always has to meet either your customers' demands or your expenses and all these kind of things, you can't really escape it. And so you're doing everything from the quoting to the invoicing to the, you know, printing to the ordering of shirts, all that stuff. And so if you want to take 2 weeks off, how do you do that? You know, I don't know if you have a plan now that works out that just says, hey, customers, by the way, we're closed between this day and this day, you know, but that's also sort of planned, and you never know maybe when you're going to get burned out. And so like, isn't it nice that, so for like Dylan and I, if we all of a sudden are burned out, we have the luxury of, hey, I'm not going to come in tomorrow. You know, like I'm just going to stay home, chill. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to, whatever it is, you know, just to get away from the shop for one day. The shop will still run for a day without us here. Whereas with you basically have to close. And so like you're stuck, you know, I guess. And so I've been there though. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that obviously it's not obvious. It's definitely what, you know, compounds my burnout essentially. Cause, you know, like I said, from quote to boxing things and getting them out the door, it's doing that all yourself. But yeah, I mean, like you know, taking a step back and like Dylan was saying, you know, definitely helps, you know, you kind of get a break from the, you know, doing this shit. But again, on my page, it's, if I'm not here doing it, you know, then nobody else is doing it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not getting done.
When I went to the Print Hustlers thing in Fort Worth, a year ago, whenever it was, I met you guys there. And I forgot who was talking about it, but one of the guys was giving the whole thing about like keeping the shop lean. And I was just like making the joke in my head. I was like, if I got any leaner, I would just go home. Like, like I can't get any leaner, dude. So, but you know, like, and I know people probably like, well, you need to sub out certain things, you know, and all that stuff. But again, you know, money is a real thing that people want, and you can't give it to them. They don't want to do stuff. So, but you know, as you know, but then actually tying into the whole Print Hustlers thing, I did find, one thing that kind of helped me a little bit on my own burnout problem was like, as goofy as it sounds, was like, I got caught up in a bunch of, you know, these podcast episodes because I hadn't listened for, you know, a few weeks, and listening to that, it kind of like puts you back into like somebody else's shoes, listening to what other people do. And it kind of like took me out of my own. You hear
about all of our nightmare problems, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I'm totally fine. Like I'm over here on an island by myself thinking like I'm the first and only person fucking doing this shit and dealing with it. But then I'm like, oh wait, I forgot there's other people out there. But yeah, you know, so like listening to these podcasts, and, you know, it also like kind of spurs new ideas. I hear shit and I'm like, oh, I could, you know, write that down. Let me, you know, try to see if I can make that work. Or like going to the Print Hustlers thing was very cool. Like I went down there by myself, obviously, because there's no one else to go with me, but, you know, meeting people and like, just like, even if like the, you know, some of the seminars and stuff didn't directly apply to me at all, like I found myself sitting there listening, you know, while they're doing that. And then another thought would pop in my head, completely irrelevant, where I was like, oh, let me jot that down and see if I can bring it back. It's just kind of like a weird, like, what's, you know, inspiring, you know, just new inspirational type of shit like that. Where it's just kind of like,
I mean, Print Hustlers is that because it's not really about the industry. I mean, sure, there are a few, sometimes they have a few speakers that are, but most of them are just about, you know, life or business or all this stuff. And they inspire different sort of thought. You know, you kind of get out of your everyday thing, your loop, you know, your echo chamber or whatever it is. You get away from that. You go to Print Hustlers and you listen to other people's stories, and they all of a sudden you're like, oh, I never even thought of that. Or they, you know, you never know what's going to happen. That's why I think Print Hustlers is a good one to go to, because it's different than like a trade show, you know, like a convention sort of atmosphere. So I love Print Hustlers. Sorry that
I hadn't gone to, like I went to ISS like 1,000 years ago when I was actually still working at AKT. The only time I actually went to an ISS show, but it was, again, even back then it was, you know, starkly different compared to the Print Hustlers one, because, you know, it was more Print Hustlers was, you know, more specific, and like regular people, and you're not just walking around looking at, shit that I'm not going to buy anyways. You're actually talking to people at, various stages and sizes of shops.
Right.
So, again, it's definitely cool to get like inspiration from different areas like that. So I found that kind of helps my burnout.
I get it. Let's do some over-unders.
Over-unders. All right. So
I'm excited.
The first one, just to kick it off, is what do you think about Wednesdays?
I think they're underrated. It's like halfway. I mean, it's not like halfway. It is halfway through the work week. And it's kind of like, all right, well, you know what you've gotten done and what you still need to get done. And it's weekend's almost there. They're not as good as Thursdays, but they're still all right.
I always used to think of Wednesdays as like the calm before the storm, of Thursday being steak night and movie night. So it's always nice to just like have my alone time or figure my shit out and then do it. But tonight we are actually having taco night at the shop and then playing video games all night. So I have chicken in the crock pot right now for chicken tacos, and then I have to make ground beef for the tacos after I'm done with this. And then Wednesdays are pretty rad. So
it sounds like a really good Wednesday. Yeah, I'm going to say.
Yeah. So are you hiring still?
Spanking and video games?
Spanking and taco night? I mean, I can move upstate.
Yeah.
I used to go upstate all the time.
There you go.
Number 2, coloring books.
I'm going to go overrated. I don't really got. I have no opinion on coloring books. I don't know if I haven't colored in a coloring book for quite some time.
I used to love coloring books when I was a kid because my mom showed me a technique that I actually did when I was in school, and I won like an award in school for like, I don't remember what the award it was for necessarily, but it was like best coloring of a coloring book or like neatest staying within the lines or something. I don't remember what it was, but she would like, it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of like how screen printing is, I guess, but like, say you were in a coloring book and it's all the black lines. Like I would take, if this area was red, I would take the crayon and I would like do a hard press of just the inside of the black line. And then I would lightly shade in that line, the whole thing. So it was like dark on the outside and then a light shade on the inside. And I would do that for each thing. So it kind of looks like a spot color print, but it was just a style of doing it. And I loved it. Like I would do it all the time because I got that like OCD, like relaxation of just like outlining and then filling it in. So
do you think they're underrated? Maybe
underrated.
Yeah.
All right. So
I do.
They make adult coloring books.
Yeah.
Joanne,
coloring the lines.
I don't know.
Really good dicks.
Yeah, that's what she does all day. No, but for the last week, maybe for some reason, she dug out a lot of her coloring books, and some of them she's had since she was 10. And she's just been coloring because she's looking for her next project and what that's going to be. And so she's exploring all different just types of stuff, like, using crayons and everything. And so she got out this one last night that she had from when she was a kid, and it was Barbie. And she had colored maybe half of the ones in there. And then I think in high school or something, she went through and changed all of what it said at the bottom, like the sayings. And so it would be like Barbie. And instead of like saying, oh, hey, I like, tea, it would say, I like dick. She would write
it's actually more accurate.
So just like,
right, so
whatever
you know what?
it was.
They are underrated. I changed my answer. Underrated.
Do you remember Mad Libs from like high school and like middle school? They would do
very
Mad Libs
underrated.
And we would just fill those in with the crudest words too. It'd be like super stuff you would get canceled for. Yeah.
Like, so or you just do the same word for everything. It's like just every word would be dick. And you're just like, the blue dick had a dog dick. And you're like, what? How many of these?
This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So. Okay. I don't know if I've asked this one before, but it deserves a round 2, and that is broccoli.
Broccoli?
Mm-hmm.
Underrated.
Yeah. I feel like broccoli is the one vegetable I will eat with whatever.
Yeah.
Roasted broccoli with garlic, A+.
Anyway, broccoli, like roasted,
Steamed too.
Steamed.
All of it's good.
Yeah.
Just raw, just eating a tiny tree.
Just raw dog in that broccoli, dude. Hell yeah.
Mhm.
Underrated. We're all going with, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, very underrated.
If I eat raw dog broccoli though, I'm only eating like the like leaves of it, like
The florets.
yeah, that's
Not
it.
the
Like
stalk.
I'm leaving the stalk, no stalks,
Yeah,
straight
wow.
top.
All right, number 4. This is so I was looking. All right, I'm just gonna say it. Warm calling.
Like a customer you already have.
Basically, yeah. So I looked it up just to make sure cold calling versus warm calling. And I did a lot of warm calling yesterday.
How about cat calling?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's, I think now that you would get you canceled too. So the cat calling is overrated.
Yeah, but have you ever done it where it's like it's wholesome and fun? Where you yell like, "Wow, she looks like she's a really good mom," or like, "You look like you can balance a checkbook," or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Hey, girl, you're doing a great job with those kids.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Okay, next.
Yeah. Oh wait, so warm calling. I haven't done a lot of it, but it's got to be better than cold calling. So I mean,
yeah,
underrated. I guess I should probably do some of that. Actually, write that down.
yeah, I think it's underrated for sure.
It's very underrated. We do it kind of often, not as often as I would like, but it's definitely super beneficial because it gets you
would it be more of like, sorry, is it more of like somebody's emailed you and you're following up, or like somebody you've worked with previously, or like really like define warm calling a little bit more? Like,
I'd
have to Google it, but I think that's really accurate. I think that's a good definition. I think that, yeah, it's not the first time you've ever come in contact with them. Maybe you ran into them somewhere 6 months ago and you're like, hey, by the way, just reaching back out, or sort of like you said, maybe you sent a quote and you didn't follow up and now you do, that sort of stuff. I think that is more of warm calling, and we need to do a lot more of that. And I was doing some of that yesterday. And it's
very
not bad.
underrated. I actually need to do that.
I like hot calling. Basically,
you yell at them when they're in front of you. You're like, you want shirts? And they're like, I'm literally paying for shirts right now. And you're like, so you want some more?
Yeah, you want some more shirts on top of your shirts? It's like Pimp My Ride. Like, I know you like shirts, so I put more shirts in your shirts.
God, worst premise. Just they've ruined half of those people's lives. They're like, I can't. We're gonna
go down a hard rabbit hole if we start talking about Pimp My Ride, because it was always like, oh, I went in your house and saw that you had a fish tank, so we put a fish tank inside your fish tank inside your car, and it's just like, dude,
the one that sticks.
That would
out
be Jared. That would be what would happen. They would pimp his ride, and it would just be a fish tank car.
They would just put a fish tank on wheels, and like it would be like the reverse, where he's in a bubble where there's no water, but there's everything around him, and it's just a car that driving a fish tank. The one episode that sticks in my brain for some reason is, and I'll be swift about it so we can wrap it up, was they had to crane lower a subwoofer because it weighed like 500 pounds, and they were dropping it into some dummy's like 94 Civic hatchback, and the car could barely drive after that. And it's like, you can't ever turn that up to max because it'll blow the fucking doors off. So I was just like, they're ruining this girl's life. She's like, I work at Chili's, and what am I supposed to do with this car?
I love it so much.
Now she's deaf.
I don't even remember what the question was at this point.
I think warm calling.
Oh, warm calling. All right, yeah. So back to
Jared's fish car.
Jared's fish car. Escalation. Yeah. So for us, it was more just like, we had a customer that we already have, and we might get a few orders from them a year. But what I started doing was like, all right, well, set up a Zoom call or a phone call or something where we basically call them and say like, hey, where are we at? Where can we improve? Literally tell us what you don't like about us. Like, tell us if our turnaround is not where you would like it, or if there's certain print techniques that we're doing that you would like to explore different ones, or like all these other things. And it always ended up productive. Like, it always ended up with more orders, more frequent orders, whatever. Because say there was like a brewery, this is one that stands out, is like there's a brewery in California that we do stuff for, and her biggest thing was like, yeah, we have regular 10 to 15 day turnaround, but like it takes 5 days to ship to get there. And she was like, by that point, we're a month in for an order by the time I get them. So like, I'm hesitant to give you guys all of my orders or more frequently because it takes me so long to get them. So I was like, all right, well, for you, what I'll do is like you're worth it of a customer. Well, I'll just do like a 7-day turnaround for you. And then by the time you get them, it's the 10 business days or the, whatever, 10 to 15 business days. And she was like, oh, hell yeah. So now they order like way more frequently and like all this other stuff. And it's like, I don't feel like that would normally happen in a regular email exchange or just like I need to order, I'll set up the order. Like it's more like a discovery call of like, how can we be better for you?
Yeah, so, it's like a real-time Google review.
Right. So I like to sit down and be like straight up, like, I'm not offended. Just tell me like what we're doing that you think we could improve on for you specifically. And I feel like 9 times out of 10, you're going to get more business from that customer.
Nice. So, agree.
Underrated.
Massively underrated, sounds like. Next we have spray tack.
I think that's rated. Properly rated, right down the middle.
Web glue only, not spray tack.
Yeah, web glue underrated because otherwise hoodies are a nightmare regardless.
Only web.
Spray tack. I've worked in shops where that's all they used, and I'm pretty sure I'll have cancer soon because of it. But and it's also just shit everywhere. So spray tack overrated. I have some here, but only for like if I'm trying to do like a quick test print. I'll just like real fast on the press, heat it up, throw the shirt on, and do that, and then I'll actually tack the boards properly. But yeah, I don't run big jobs because that's also a small enclosed shop. So if I was spraying spray tack for every job, Jesus Christ, we'd have more cobwebs than are actually naturally here.
I did have to get back at a printer once, and I unloaded a good amount of spray tack down the crack of their ass in their pants.
Underrated.
So, underrated.
Jesus, oh, that would be a nightmare. I
think of the ass hair.
I was thinking of like the hair on my arms. When I used to use spray tack, would just be like sticking straight up, and I'm just like, oof, go home and have to shower and just get lint balls everywhere.
You still want to go work up there? I don't know anymore. Might have just ruined it for him.
Yeah, but think if they were sprayed and then spanked.
Yeah, but then his hand will stick to me, so it just hangs out a little bit longer. So it's just like underrated. Upstate merch, underrated.
Okay, last we have Halloween.
Overrated.
Underrated.
Why?
Do you have kids?
Me? No.
See, that's why it's overrated.
Yeah, I think mostly just like lately it falls on a weekday, so we're not doing anything anyways. But even prior to that, even if it's on a weekend, it's not like we're going out and going to like big crazy Halloween parties.
Yeah, I could care less if I was single and like didn't have kids or whatever.
Yeah, I'll still sit outside when I'm not a complete Scrooge about it. Like on Halloween night, I'll probably sit out there with some candy, and because they're gonna come to the door anyway, so I'm not gonna be a dick and be like, "Get out of here, nerds!" But yeah, it's always fun to see them pop up and be children.
I saw a thing that was online the other day, which was like Halloween prank or whatever, where it was, how people leave out the bowl and a note, and it just says like, "Take one, be nice." And this dude like electrified the metal bowl, so when punk kids would come up and try to steal the whole bowl, he would like be inside and just like hit the button, and it would like fucking shock them.
Oh, he'd have to do it. I was gonna say if it was just
like he was inside, and he had like a speaker too, where he was like, "I got you, asshole," or whatever. Like
I was thinking it was just electrified the whole time, and I was like, you just know he's gonna get like some little girl in a princess outfit reaching up to get her Kit Kat bar and just get blasted off the stairs.
Yeah, I think it would be amazing. I think I would put a lot of juice into it, like electric fence style juice, and like. I did that when I was a kid though, so I can't like complain too much. Like we were dicks. Like we did a lot of awful things, but
I'm also not far from Salem, and that place becomes a nightmare in more ways than one.
Marcotte just got back from there. He said it was amazing. He said it was like a shitload of people.
Yeah, it's like we've gone there once during Halloween time, and it was kind of cool just to see it. But like it was one of those things where it's like you go to a theme park and you're like, cool, I did it. I don't ever really need to go back during this time because Salem's tight on its own. But, around Halloween, obviously, it becomes extra spooky. And then there's like, 1,000 cars trying to drive by the Hocus Pocus house. And it's, right. That's about it. But Halloween's okay. There's other holidays that are way better.
I like it just to go around town with my kids, and I have some funny stories of like my kids being little and like kind of my son. I always tell this story about my son where it's like, I don't know, he kind of, when he was little, he threw fits a lot, and he doesn't really do that much anymore. But like, we went to the first house, and like the person like held out the thing and like the bucket or whatever, and like let him pick his candy. You know what I mean? Like, instead of someone just being like, oh, here's a candy bar and putting it in their thing, they let him pick or whatever. And we went to the very next house, and the person like nicely, you know, like came out with a bowl and like grabbed a Snickers or whatever it was and put it in his thing. He fucking dropped to his knees and yelled. He's like, they didn't let me pick. And it was just like so embarrassing. I was just like, holy shit, dude. Like, he was losing his fucking mind because they didn't let him pick. Like, imagine that being you at your house, like with candy, and someone else's kid is like fucking losing it in front of you on his knees, like because you didn't let him pick his fucking candy bar.
So then
I'd just be like, hey, bud, take all of it. Please get off my
I would
porch.
just put the heel of my foot in his chest to just fucking kick him up my stairs.
I was gonna say that'd
Just
be
like
the perfect
300 kick him.
Yeah,
that'd be the
like,
perfect
no, like,
time to use your electric bowl or whatever on him.
yeah,
Yeah.
just hit him with a fucking cattle prod.
All right,
Just get
dude.
one of those like little
On that note,
shooters.
Yeah.
On that note of kicking children off stairs, let's wrap it up.
thanks for doing this with us, dude. Shop's rad. You look like you're doing some awesome stuff. I like seeing
Appreciate it.
the quality work you're doing. I was about to say you guys are doing, but you are doing. I'm stoked.
I still use the word. I still say "we" in emails just because it makes it sound fancier. And then I always just think of the big.
It's the royal we.
Like, the royal we, dude. Come on.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go to any shows soon where we'll see you? Or
What are the next ones coming up? Not anything
Long
this
Beach is
year.
the big one.
Possibly. What is that? January?
January.
January? Maybe. I'll see what's going on. I got
Come out and see us do. What were we talking? Hot dongs.
Oh yeah. Well, if there's hot dogs, then I'm in.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'll see what I can finagle.
Okay. Well, see you, man. Enjoy your rest of your
Thanks,
Wednesday.
Stefan.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.